It was 5:30 when Holmes returned to our rooms. He seemed bright and excited. "Watson," he said, "everything is clear to me now." "Really?" I asked. I was very surprised. Holmes lit a cigarette and sat down. "I've discovered a very interesting fact," he went on. "So the mystery is solved," I said. Holmes looked at me with his bright, clear eyes. "No, Watson," he replied, "but I am beginning to understand." "What have you discovered?" I asked.
Watson, everything's clear to me now.
Oh, really?
I've discovered interesting facts.
What do you mean with that?
I read in Times of 29 April 1882 that Major Sholto, an army officer, died the day before in Norwood, South London. "But why is that important, Holmes?" I asked. "Let me explain," he replied. "Captain Morrison disappears in London. He knows only one person here, Major Sholto, so we must suppose he visited Major Sholto. But the Major says he never knew Captain Morrison was in England. 4 years later, he dies. A few days after that, Morrison's daughter receives a valuable present. There's a good news at last. But of what? Of her father, Watson. And why did Miss Morrison start to receive presents so soon after Sholto's death?"
Let me explain. Captain Morrison only knows one person here in London.
Oh, I had no idea, Mr. Holmes. Who it is?
Major Sholto.
"True," Holmes agreed, "but we'll learn more tonight. And here is Miss Morrison now in a cab. Are you ready?" We sat up and went down the stairs and out into Baker Street. I noticed that Holmes brought his revolver with him. It was clear he thought that we might be. In the cab we found Miss Morrison dressed in black. She was calm, but her face was white. She seemed happy to answer the question that Holmes asked her on our journey. "Very close," she replied. "Father wrote about the Major in every letter he sent to me. They worked together as officers in the Andaman Island for some time, you see." Holmes looked thoughtful. "Do you have any of your father's letter with you?" he asked. "No, but I have a very strange paper, which I found on my father's desk. It probably is important." Miss Morrison took the paper from her bag and gave it to Holmes, who looked at it very carefully. "It was made in India," he told us. "It seems to be a plan of a very big house with several halls and passages and a large number of rooms. There is a red cross, which perhaps shows where something important is, and 4 black crosses in a line with the words, the sign of 4. Jonathan Small, Mahomet Singh, Abdullah Khan, Dost Akbar. No, I don't understand the importance of this paper, but I'm sure it is important. Keep it safe, Miss Morrison. It may be useful to us."
Were your father and Major Sholto close friends?
Very close. My father wrote me about Major Sholto in every letter.
Do you have any letter of your father?
No, but I have this weird paper I found in my father's desk.
As we drove to the Lyceum, Miss Morrison and I spoke quietly together, but Holmes said nothing more. He was thinking. It was a strangely cold evening, and the sky was grey and full of clouds. There was thick fog in the streets of London, and it was difficult to see the street lamps as we drove along. Everything seemed unreal in their strange yellow light. The grey, wet evening made me feel sad. Miss Morrison, too, looked serious and lost in thoughts.
The Thames now.
Yes, we're crossing the river. Yes.
"We are crossing the Thames now," he said as we drove over Vauxhall Bridge. I looked out and saw the silent water of the river below us through the fog. Our cab moved quickly, and soon we were in one of the poorest parts of South London. There were streets of tall, grey houses with brightly lit pubs in every corner. Finally, we stopped outside the third house in an ugly street of new buildings. The other houses were all in darkness, but in this house there was a light at the kitchen window. Our driver got down from his seat and opened the door of the cab. We followed him to the door of the house, He knocked loudly and the door was immediately opened. An Indian servant stood in front of us. "Mr. Shoto is waiting for you," he said. Suddenly we heard a strange, high voice from inside of the house. "Bring them to me," it said. "Bring them to me now."
Mr. Shoto is waiting for you.